Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Pretty excited about this evening. I hope you have your glass of wine next to you because we've got Kelly with Swan Hellenic Cruise Line. She is going to tell us this evening how to explore the world on Swan Hellenic. It's very different from the other mass market cruise lines, so we're so excited to have her here today. Kelly, take it away. I can't wait to hear all about it.
Thank you so much, Effie. Let me share my screen here. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm so excited to bring all of you something new and exciting tonight. And first, I have to say that it's so amazing that your travel advisor invited you to learn something new because, as travel experts, they really stay at the forefront of what's happening in our industry and all the amazing ways that you can experience the world. And I think that expedition is growing a lot and it's so exciting and we're really able to take you to some incredible corners of the world. So I look forward to sharing that with you tonight. And I'm Kelly again. So thank you for the introduction, Effie. I've been working in travel for 20 years this year. And I've had the incredible opportunity to travel all over the world. But I joined Swan Hellenic about 3 years ago, and that's when I got to go on my first ever polar expedition. And let me tell you that it was so unlike anything I've ever done. I felt like a little kid. I was telling Effie, like, when's the last time you did something really different and kind of outside of your comfort zone when you're traveling and all your senses just really come alive? And I felt more connected to the destination and nature and even myself than I have on any other type of trip I've ever taken in my life. And that's a lot of trips. So I'm really excited to share some of my personal stories and photographs from expeditions that I've gotten to do and share some new inspiration and ideas for you that you might not even realize are out there on how you can experience the world. Now, Swan Hellenic is probably a new name for most of you, but we actually are a company with 70 years of history behind us, and we've only ever done expedition cruising. So it's a pretty long history. We have new owners that relaunched this iconic brand into the North American market in February 2020. So that's why you might just be hearing about us now. But what we're really synonymous with is the true exploration of the destination, incredible learning and immersion opportunities, and going off the beaten path. And with three brand new luxury expedition vessels, we're doing it all in amazing style. So, in the world of expedition, there's a huge spectrum of different types of companies and ships and destinations that all of these places go. And your travel, that's why your travel advisor is so important because they can help you pick what will be the best fit for you. So, in the expedition world, what makes Swan Hellenic so special is that we really marry the adventure of a true down and dirty expedition with five-star service and accommodations in a completely unpretentious way. So, you really get the best of both worlds. You get the adventure, you get the immersion, you get the access to the experts and to go off the beaten path. But when you come back to your home away from home, you feel like you're staying at a five-star boutique hotel. But with us, the focus always remains on the exploration, the learning, and the immersion. The luxury is kind of happening in the background. You can leave your jackets at home and your formal gowns. There's no dress code, there's no formal nights. It's completely unpretentious luxury with Swan Hellenic. And we're doing it really well. So even though we might be a new name for you, we're actually the highest rated expedition cruise line out of all of the expedition cruise lines out there, according to Cruise Critic, with over 220 reviews now from our guests. So people are saying amazing things about us, and what we're doing is working. So let's jump into the exciting part. Now that you kind of get a grasp of like who Swan Hellenic is, what do you think of when you hear the word expedition? And most people think of like old 1970s Russian icebreaker ships and roughing it and crossing the Drake Passage in crazy seas and polar bears and penguins and parkas. And that is true. Antarctica and the Arctic is a large part of what Swan Hellenic does, and rightly so, because it is an extraordinary experience. As I mentioned, I got to go to both Antarctica and the Arctic in 2023, both in the same year I went to both poles. And I cannot even put into words, I will try, how magical these experiences were. A lot of these pictures I took with my own iPhone. I was hiking up a mountain in Antarctica, and it really did feel this stark and this adventurous and truly just serene in a destination like this. We got to pass humongous icebergs. You know, that is only the tip. They say the tip of the iceberg. The icebergs are huge and we can only see a very small sliver. A lot of them, the ice below is 3,000 years old. A lot of people don't understand that the mountain ranges in Antarctica are some of the largest mountains in the world. Like this is a land of complete majesty in Antarctica where you feel like you've landed on a different planet. This is me seeing my first icebergs as we're approaching the Antarctic Peninsula. When you see something like this in real life, you really are like, where am I right now? And is this really happening to me? Because you've just never done anything like this. And you just feel as we're getting closer and closer to the Antarctic Peninsula that you're really on the cusp of doing something extraordinary. And you have to think when you go to a place like Antarctica or the Arctic, you are like less than 1% of the population that will ever go to places like this. Like, that is extraordinary. You have these insane moments where you really pinch yourself, like when I was hiking up this mountain in Antarctica with this little penguin by my side, just me and the penguin, where you're just like, what world am I living in right now? But it's these moments that stay with you for the rest of your life and the stories that you're going to share from a trip like this. And it's the activities that you get to do in a place like this, where you really get to get out there and experience the destination in new ways and try new things. Like as adults, it's like we don't often try new things very often, but to get to go snowshoeing or kayaking and get in a zodiac that's like everyone is in the same boat, no pun intended, feeling awkward and like, what are we doing right now? All dressed in your gear. And it is just so fun to do something that's completely unpredictable. And switching to the other pole, Svalbard in the Arctic, it is truly different than Antarctica. The landscape's different, the animals and the wildlife are different. Every single day, the landscape changed from hiking across these green moss tundras and the wildlife. Oh my gosh, this is a professional photographer's picture from the sailing that I was on. We turned around a corner in our Zodiac and found about 100 walruses one day. And it was insane. Well, one, we could smell them before we could see them. But we came around this cove and they were all basking in the sun and there were several playing in the water. To have a humongous walrus swim under your Zodiac and pop up to check you out so close, you can hear it breathing and you just feel this connection to the wildlife on a trip like this. And you have to remind yourself that you're not at the zoo. It's quite an experience. And just the opportunities to explore via Zodiac in the Arctic, it was incredible. This day we came across a pod of beluga whales, which is pretty rare. We saw all kinds of birds. And of course, from the ship one day, we did see the king of the Arctic, the polar bear. Different sailings see different numbers. We saw one on my Arctic sailing, but other departures have seen up to 18 polar bears. Of course, you have to remember we cannot order polar bears on demand, but it is a really magical part of an Arctic expedition. But I bet that you didn't realize that you could see the world in this immersive, exploratory way beyond the polar regions. Swan Hellenic really has the world covered. And our tagline at Swan Hellenic is see what others don't. That tells you exactly who we are and who we're looking for. So if you're a curious world explorer who doesn't want to follow the crowd and you want to do something totally unique, this is where you come to Swan Hellenic, and your travel advisor will point you in the right direction. So, besides Antarctica and the Arctic, we sail up the entire west coast of Africa. If you have been everywhere, done that, that is like the final frontier of exploration. It's not about safaris, it's not about wildlife. It's really about peeling back the rich layers of this diverse continent to connect with the people, the history, and the cultures of the regions that we're sailing along. We do both coasts of South America, including sailing through the Chilean fjords, sailing along the Atacama Desert, where we're going to have two PhD astronomers on board. But my favorite part, I love Brazil. So the fact that we do this whole coast of Brazil is magic to me, including going into the Amazon. We do parts of Europe as well. So Portugal, Spain, France. Imagine doing the Scottish Highlands and the British Isles and Ireland, but from an expedition lens, reaching hard to get to sweeping, beautiful landscapes that few people would ever see if they were trying to do these destinations by themselves. And then our newest addition to the roster is Asia and the South Pacific. This is a pretty exotic itineraries for people who really want to go off the beaten path. We're doing places like the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea, Rajan Pot, Indonesia, and the Philippines and Japan, which is one of the hottest destinations I keep hearing about all over. So we really have the world covered. And last year alone, Swan Hellenic actually visited 9 different destinations where we're the first ship to ever visit these places. So that is the trail that we're blazing if you want to see what others don't. Now think of it. Think of reframing how you think of the word expedition. Expedition could look like sailing past stilted houses in the Brazilian Amazon on our Zodiac. It could look like having an authentic Pachamama ceremony in the Atacama Desert. It could look like visiting Togo in West Africa to learn about where voodoo comes from. And it could look like weaving in and out of 1,000 islands, which is what Rajan Pot is. It's one of the most remote areas in the world that's part of Indonesia and one of the most pristine coral reefs that you can find in the world with insane marine life, uninhabited islands. Imagine 1,000 islands in our little expedition ship weaving in and out of these destinations. Stand-up paddleboarding and snorkeling coral reefs and even diving with whale sharks. That's what expedition can look like. So it's kind of like, what is the magic formula when we talk about expedition that you can expect on any Swan Hellenic voyage, no matter where in the world you're traveling with us? And we've come up with 4 pillars that you can expect on your Swan Hellenic expedition. To be one with the destination. This is probably my favorite photo I've ever taken in all of my travels. I took this with an iPhone in Svalbard. We were in our Zodiac cruising up to our landing spot for the day when we kind of all realized at the same time what we were cruising towards. It was a humongous mountain chain covered in snow, and all of the ground was covered in snow. It felt like being dropped into a James Bond movie, and we hiked for about 1.5 miles in calf-deep snow, totally untouched by humans. So to be able to connect with the land and the nature in this way, it's really so much more than a vacation that you're on. It can be a transformative journey because when you're in a place like this, all of your senses truly come alive and you have no choice but to be jerked into the present moment and really feel alive. That's the only way I can explain it. To connect with like-minded spirits, when you're going to places like West Africa or Papua New Guinea or Antarctica, imagine the type of people that sign up for a trip like this. No matter where they're from in the world, you have that in mind, that you are like-minded spirits who want to experience the world in a unique way. I took this picture in Antarctica. There was just 2 zodiacs, us and the one I took the photograph of, sticking together, completely enveloped by fog. We could not see anything. We couldn't even see the ship anymore. We were using GPS to navigate, and we came across this lone fur seal in the middle of nowhere surrounded by ice. And in a moment like this, when you have your 10 new friends in your zodiac, you're bonded by these moments that are totally unpredictable. It's not written into any itinerary. It's the magic that Mother Nature puts on display for us. And when you go back to a ship from an experience like this, you have 10 new friends that you're going to go get a drink with at the bar, that you're going to invite to join you for dinner that night, that you're going to share your social media handles with. It just creates a really strong magical bond when you travel this way that other trip styles don't really deliver. The next pillar of Expedition with Swan Hellenic is to go beyond. You're not just going to go shopping in a port on a trip like this. You're going to really experience the culture and get under the skin of a place. And with Swan Hellenic, we make it automatic because we include expedition activities or one excursion in every single port that you visit. So the value and the experiences that you're getting are amazing. I love to highlight this one experience that we offer when we're in Namibia on the west coast of Africa. We visit the Namib Desert, which is a certified dark sky park. This is the second best place in the world to see stars. And we take all of our guests about an hour and a half into the desert for an extraordinary evening under the stars in a certified dark sky park with local musicians, dancers, and dinner. This is see what others don't. But we also offer you premium optional excursions, so we give you choices if you want to upgrade your experience along the way. To go beyond, we also do this through our expedition activities. And that really gets you out and active in some of these destinations, but it looks different depending on where we are. When I was Zodiac cruising in Svalbard, we saw this huge piece of sea ice that was so blue. Imagine the bluer the ice, the older it is. That's like a 3,000-year-old piece of ice, which is really hard to fathom that's in front of you. That's what expedition looks like in Svalbard. In Rajan Pat in the Philippines, expedition looks like stand-up paddleboarding and snorkeling coral reefs and jungle treks. We're landing our Zodiacs on uninhabited islands covered in jungle, trekking with our naturalist guides. Now, have no fear. You do not have to be a professional athlete or mountain climber to go on a trip like this. About 80% of our guests are 50 to 70 years old. It is a fairly active trip, so it does require a good level of mobility. But listen, as I like to say, you just have to throw your leg over the Zodiac and do it. No one said you had to look good doing it. Everyone is looking like a fool together. And then you just laugh and you get to do something epic. Another way we go beyond is, I think, the highest level of immersion that you can really participate in is through our citizen science programs. This is where our guests actually get to participate in a hands-on way to help collect data in some of these really remote places that we go. Like in Antarctica, we have a citizen science zodiac that you can sign up to go out on with one of our expedition leaders and help measure water clarity in some of these regions. And we send this data back to different organizations and institutions that we have partnerships with. We also partner with NASA to help document different cloud formations that we see, and with Stony Brook University to help document different bird species that we're seeing in some of these most remote areas of the world. It's hands-on, and you get to learn so much while you're doing it and participate in researching these really remote places that few people will ever get to go. The other way that we go beyond is by giving you access to incredible experts on our expedition teams that we have on every voyage. These are some of the most passionate people that I've ever met in my life, and you'll find different areas of expertise depending on where we are in the world. So when we're in places like the Arctic and Antarctica, you are going to be in a zodiac or having lectures from ornithologists. I got to hike up that mountain in Antarctica through a colony of penguins with an ornithologist yapping in my ear, telling me everything about these mating cycle of these penguins, which is just insane access in the moment, bringing these destinations to life. We have naturalists, botanists, archaeologists, historians, and in addition, we bring on guest lecturers. So this past summer in Greenland, just to give you an example of some of the things we've been able to curate, our guest lecturer was the first female prime minister of Greenland. That's a pretty awesome guest lecturer. We're bringing on, as another example, 2 world-class photographers when we're sailing along the Atacama Desert next month. And we're actually including a free photography workshop in the price of the cruise. So we're doing specialty themed expeditions as well, where you can really explore your own personal passions and interests, which I think is so cool. And the fourth pillar of expedition with Swan Hellenic is to embrace the unexpected. If you've never done a trip like this before, it's hard to grasp sometimes that an itinerary is a suggestion because, especially in the polar regions, Mother Nature and the weather dictate a lot of what we're able to do. So our expedition teams really have planned A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like not exaggerating at all. But also some of the places that we go, like West Africa or Papua New Guinea, these are not places with like huge tourism infrastructures if they have any at all. So you have to go on a trip like this with a very flexible mindset and be down for the adventure. And that is when the magic happens. But our teams are empowered to make that magic happen. So, for example, I got to go to the Norwegian fjords and I went kayaking at Svartsen Glacier. After the kayaking was over, our guide said, "Hey, do you guys want to take a 15-minute hike down this dirt road and I'll show you the glacial lake?" And we all said, "Yes, sir." So we hiked in all of our gear 15 minutes and we came upon this glacial lake, perfect reflections, glass. I've never seen anything like this. And the crazy Norwegian guide kept walking and dove head first into this lake. You can see him next to my left foot. And we all looked at each other and we all dove in that lake and went swimming in those dry suits. And that is not anywhere in the itinerary. And it was the best part of the whole day. Our crew, also another story I have, it's great. When we were making our way back from Antarctica, we were crossing the Drake Passage, which everyone, has questions about, I'm sure. It was a calm day, though, and our captain slammed on the brakes because the ship was surrounded by 100 humpback whales. And we sat in the Drake Passage for 2 hours. The whales wanted to stay and play. They surrounded our ship for 2 hours. All of our guests were out on the decks and on their balconies, literally crying because this is just insane. We were there for so long that the Coast Guard called the ship because they were like, no one sits in the Drake Passage for 2 hours. Is everything okay? Our team did that. Not every company is going to stop for that moment, but we knew that was going to make everything magic on this last day of the expedition. So let me spotlight some of the truly interesting itineraries that I think you will like. Based on just, I have put a variety of destinations together to bring awareness to where you can go on expeditions in all the different corners of the world, from short trips to longer trips. I like to start with Brazil because it's not that far away from home, but you're going to pack a punch and it's only 6 nights. So if you can't get away for 2 weeks and you need a shorter adventure, this is like a beach vacation for adventure travelers. From Salvador Bahia down to Rio de Janeiro. And Salvador is like the cultural capital of Brazil that has amazing Afro-Caribbean music and all sorts of art and different religions to learn about. That's all woven into kind of the Brazilian culture. And so that's where it begins. Itacaré and Trancoso are like these idyllic beach towns, and you can really kind of design what type of trip you want this to be. You can make this an epic beach vacation and go to beautiful beach clubs along the way, or you could explore all sorts of flora and fauna, like Olobros Archipelago. That's actually one of the places where Swan Hellenic was the first ship to ever visit this archipelago of islands. It's uninhabited. Amazing flora and fauna and wildlife, and that you can explore within those ecosystems. Bucios is one of like the most glitziest, well-known beach towns in Brazil. And then ending in Rio de Janeiro, it's probably my favorite city in the world. This is the backdrop here. It feels like you're on a movie set. And I bet most people don't think of Rio de Janeiro that way, but I've never seen a place look like this. You're like in a big city surrounded by the jungle with islands in the bay. And it has such a rich culture. You could either spend a few more days there, and I'm sure your travel advisor could create an amazing experience there for you, or you could even go explore Iguazu or the Pantanal, since this is such a short cruise. Or if you're short on time, head back home. Now, if you really want to go even more off the beaten path in Brazil, you can explore the Amazon with Swan Hellenic because our ships are small enough to get down into the Breves Narrows within the Brazilian Amazon. This is actually an 11-night sailing that starts in Bridgetown, Barbados. And This is for people that have probably been to a lot of places, are really looking to up your ante in your travel game, because we're going to places like Suriname and Guyana and French Guiana before we head down to the Amazon. I've seen the pictures from last year's expedition, and like the picture on the left is just one small. I wish I could show you all the photographs, because you're really getting into the heart and soul of some of these villages that are in the Amazon that you're going to get to connect with in this incredible landscape. And then to switch gears, something totally different. We actually have a special golf departure this September. So if there's any golfers out there, this is another short 6-night sailing from Lisbon to the Canary Islands, also including Morocco. So if there's non-golfers, you're invited too. But then the golfers can add on an optional golf package. You can golf at just 1 or 2 courses, or you can buy all 5 courses for $1,500. These prestigious courses are some of the best courses in the world. And the 6-night sailing, I mean, Portugal is amazing. I'm sure your travel advisor could put together an incredible adventure in Portugal, or even connect you to a river cruise with one of their other partners. Or, I mean, I've been dying to check out Morocco myself, and that will be close by when the cruise ends. So this is a really cool departure, and great to get your friends together from their golf course that you belong to, or the neighborhood, to take a trip together and get some good friendly competition going. And then another corner of the world that is just like so different, because it's amazing what we can do on a trip like this, is in Raja Ampat, Indonesia. I was showing you those pictures earlier. There's so many islands that we're going to be sailing through between Raja Ampat and the Philippines. And if there's any divers out there on these 2 specific itineraries, we're going to offer optional diving packages. And you can either purchase single dives, or if you know you're going to want to dive as much as possible, we're offering 5 to 6 dive packs on these voyages. Now, what I love is the Sarong to Sarong, the Secrets of the Coral Triangle departure. We actually include round trip charter flights from Bali. So you would just have to get yourself to Bali and your travel agent, and then we take you off the beaten path to Raja Ampat. And that's all included in your cruise fare. We also put a pre-cruise hotel night included for you in Bali. And so in these hard to get to places, we really make sure that you're all taken care of and don't have to stress about navigating these remote destinations. And then in the Raja Ampat in the Philippines, it's just a one-way charter flight, because we're ending in Manila, and that will be easy to get home from. But this is like a tropical vacation. And remember, there's also World War history in the Pacific that we're going to be talking about on those itineraries as well. And I should point out that we have a specific Papua New Guinea itinerary where we're actually having a World War history expert on board as the lecturer. If you're a World War history buff, you should check that one out. And then to highlight the 2 polar regions, just to make sure, because these are probably the most popular. Svalbard, we have a 7-night expedition. You actually would just get yourself to Copenhagen, your travel advisor, and then we fly you to Longyearbyen, the most northern town in the world, and it's a 7-night exploration of Svalbard. And we have multiple departure dates for you, and it's starting right over $6,000 per person, which is an amazing value for the charter flights and the hotels and airport transfers, all your meals and your drinks on board, and the expedition activities. The value is incredible. And for Antarctica, we have a number of different ways that you can explore Antarctica, from 9 nights to 32 nights if you want the end all be all voyage. We have a number of different departure dates. The season for Antarctica is typically November to March. So we have Antarctica Peninsula voyages that are 9 and 10 nights. You can cross the Antarctic Circle if you really need to rub that in some people's faces. We have a 13-night voyage. And then if you want to do something different and interesting, we actually go into the Weddell Sea, which is 11 nights. It's a lesser explored part of Antarctica. If you have the time, we do have longer 17 to 20-night voyages that do Antarctica, the Falkland Islands, and South Georgia, which has different flora and fauna, because those are actually sub-Antarctic land masses. So it's different than Antarctica in terms of what's living there and what the environment's like. And then for someone with the time and the budget, we have an epic 32-night Western semi-circumnavigation of Antarctica, going all the way down to the Ross Sea, ending in New Zealand. This is crazy. There's not too many other expedition lines that even go to this part of Antarctica, and it's a true adventure. So, just to give you a quick tour of what these ships look like. So, we have the destinations covered, they're epic. But that coupled with where you're going to come back to at the end of the day is what is going to make this trip so epic. We have 3 different ships. They're all brand new, and all of them have less than 200 guests on board. 2 of them have just 152 guests maximum, and the Diana has 192 guests. And so no matter what ship you go on, you're going to have an amazing experience because they basically are all the same. It's all the same restaurants, the same decor, so you can go anywhere in the world with Swan Hellenic and have a great time. Our guest to crew ratio is pretty close to 1-to-1, so you are going to be waited on hand and foot with an incredible crew that's going to treat you like family. Now, in our world of expedition, size matters, especially in the polar regions, because there's a lot of laws and regulations that are in place to protect these fragile environments. So because we have less than 200 people on board our ships, we get off the ship to explore twice a day, every day in Antarctica and the Arctic, which means you're going to get maximum time zodiac cruising, hiking, kayaking, snowshoeing, to be off the ship, really taking in the magic of these places to give you maximum immersion. But when you come back to that ship at the end of all of your active activities, you get access to these amazing luxury amenities right at your fingertips on these expedition vessels. You can go get any type of massage you want at our spa. If you break a nail on your Zodiac ride, you can go get your nails done. If you need to work out, we have an amazing fitness center for how small these ships are, spin bikes, treadmills, rowing machines, and it all comes with a view. I was on the spin bike watching waterfalls go by in the Norwegian fjords. It really doesn't get better than that. We have an open deck jacuzzi and a heated infinity pool on the aft of the ship. When we're in the polar regions, they make the pool as hot as the jacuzzi. Everyone goes in there and has a good time when you get back on board. But you can find me right here in the sauna with panoramic windows, so you never miss a whale sighting, an iceberg sighting, whatever's happening outside in these extraordinary destinations, you're going to be able to see it. Dining on board. I have had many luxury travel advisors travel with me on our sailings, and they're not an easy crowd to please. And a number of them have said it is the best food that they have had on any ship. So there's 3 different dining venues, no reservations ever required. It's open dining. There's no dress code. You can come eat an incredible meal with wine pairings in your jeans and hiking boots. The Swan restaurant in the middle is our main restaurant, and we typically have a buffet breakfast and lunch, but there's always a la carte specials that you can order from. And dinner is sit down, fine dining, a la carte. Now, one of the things that sets us apart is everything is made from scratch down to the salad dressing, which is not necessarily the bar in our industry. If you feel like something more casual, you can head to the club lounge, the picture on the left, where you can also find the self-service espresso machine and like light bites for the early risers and a casual lunch buffet. This is where I go to drink my coffee in the morning because there's epic panoramic windows everywhere you go, so you can see amazing wildlife while you're drinking your coffee. And we also have our outdoor pool, bar, and grill area. Even in the polar regions, on a warm day, we're going to have a barbecue out there because we have heating panels next to the seating areas. We have thought of everything to make this an epic experience for you. They'll put homemade pizzas and brats and burgers out there. And in the warm weather destinations, they'll actually set up this area for fine dining al fresco dinners, which is really nice. Now, when you finally get back to your staterooms, you are going to an oasis of calm. We have a number of different categories, from suites to balconies to ocean views, and they're all such welcoming spaces. some of the most sizable staterooms in all of Expedition. You're looking at one of our premium suites here. So this is the highest end there is. You get a nice big king size bed, a nice big walk-in rain shower, and a separate bathtub, a walk-in closet, a big terrace balcony, and this separate seating area divided by an electric fireplace. But guess what? Almost all the staterooms on all Swan Hellenic vessels, there's only one stateroom, one kind of stateroom. These all have electric fireplaces that crackle. No one else has that, and our guests lose their minds over this feature. So this is our balcony staterooms. It's what we have the most of. It makes up 80% of all of our staterooms. So it's epic to have a balcony in these places that we're sailing through. So you can go right out on your balcony when you wake up to see if there's any whales outside or ice floating by or seals downstairs or what type of a jungle landscape you're passing through. The staterooms are very well appointed, a rain shower, more storage space than you could ever need. And it's just a very comfortable place to come back to in the evening. These are our lead-in ocean views. Even the ocean views have an electric fireplace and huge panoramic windows. So you are living large on Swan Hellenic. Now, as I mentioned before, we're all inclusive. In the really hard to get to places in the world, we offer Cruise Plus voyages, and that's where we're going to include your pre-cruise hotel night, your airport transfers, and even charter flights in the hard to get to places. Cruise only is in the easier to navigate places where you and your travel advisor can pick the best luxury hotel that you want to stay at in cities where there's a lot of options and you can really tailor that to what you and your family are looking for. But once you get on board, really everything is included. All your meals, your room service, drinks, even outside of meals, 24/7, beer, wine, and spirits and non-alcoholic beverages, all the lecture series on board, an excursion in every port, and your expedition activities in the polar regions and even the tropical destinations. Basic Wi-Fi is included, access to all the saunas and the jacuzzis, that's all included for you. We even have a 24/7 complimentary laundrette on board. So if you're on a longer expedition, you can do your own laundry free of charge. It's all set ready for you. If you're in a polar expedition, we give you the big gear that you need. So we give you a parka to take home and keep with you so you'll keep warm. We lend you rubber boots to keep your feet dry and warm. And you get a dry bag backpack and a water bottle on all of the Swan Hellenic sailings. And of course, one of my favorite things is that we have a professional photographer on every departure, and you get a special video from your sailing, from the photographer, along with a digital photo album from your sailing that you'll get to take home with you from your trip. All the gratuities are included as well. So the only thing you would ever spend more money on is if you want to go to the spa, if you want to purchase optional premium excursions, or if you want to order like from the wine reserve list. All the big things though are included for you. And I'll end with a special offer for you. Right now, we have an amazing promotion at Swan Hellenic called Elevated Expeditions, which is running through February 28th. And we have so many different departures, a lot of the ones I talked about tonight that are all part of this. So from 6 nights to 32 nights, from Africa to Asia to Latin America, we have a few Antarctica. We have all of our Arctic departures. They're all part of this. So you can save up to $1,500 per guest. You're going to get up to $500 onboard credit per guest, depending on which category of stateroom that you book. And then you're also going to receive upgraded complimentary Wi-Fi. So ocean views and balconies will get upgraded to our gold Wi-Fi, and suites will get upgraded to our platinum Wi-Fi. This is all booked by February 28th with your travel advisor. And if you're here tonight, we even have an extra something special for you. We're going to give you an extra $100 onboard credit per person on any Swan Hellenic sailing when you book with your travel advisor by February 28th. All you have to do to book with your travel advisor to secure your stateroom and on your sailing is put down a 20% deposit on ocean views or balconies, or a 30% deposit on suites, and then your final payment is not due until 120 days prior to departure. So I hope that you enjoyed my presentation tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I know it's gone on a while. It's a lot of information, but hopefully it was exciting for you.
Wow, Kelly, it was amazing. You did such a great job. I'm excited. I want to go now. Um,
Good. This
So
is
is
even
it,
for working for I live and breathe travel. Like this is why I work in this industry, and this is extraordinary, this product.
yeah, it's exciting for sure. So listen, does anyone have any questions? I guess they can unmute themselves and ask a question, or do you want to raise your hand and we'll,
You can also type it in the Q&A chat box or in the chat as well if you're having any problems unmuting yourself.
all right, I'm looking here to see if anybody has any questions. Let me look here in the chat. I'm so surprised nobody has any questions. But if you have any questions and you're not sure, you can always get with your travel advisor, reach out to them and let them know what you're interested in, and they'll be able to help you. Yes, so Paul is asking that he was just able to join. Will this be available to view later? The answer is yes. It'll go to your email on Thursday, so keep an eye out on it in our newsletter that goes out. So the recording will be on that with some additional information about Swan Hellenic.
Oh, I see
Let
some
me,
more questions coming in too. Someone
oh,
asked, what would you recommend for a first timer? Oh my gosh, there's so many different destinations, and it all depends, I guess, on like what your vibe is, what you look for in a trip. But like that's the beauty of what we offer is because we go to so many places from 6 nights to 32 nights. So we really kind of have everyone. If you're leaning towards a polar expedition, I kind of have my own philosophy that it's good to start with the Arctic because you really are only having to go to Copenhagen, and then it's a shorter 7 night sailing. And once we get to Longyearbyen, where you embark, we're really just hugging the coastline. So there's no really rough seas, there's no crossing of the Drake Passage, and it's a great way to kind of dip your toe in expedition, and it's a great introduction. And there's incredible landscapes and wildlife, but it's a good build up to then go to Antarctica because Antarctica is kind of like a longer trip, a more expensive trip, and it's a longer journey. And of course, you're crossing the Drake. And so I feel like it's a good build up to get to that.
fantastic. And Kelly, someone's asking, what is the approximate cost per person for a 9 or 10 night Antarctica trip?
Yeah, we have it depends, of course, when you're going, but we have some sailing starting from under $10,000 per person. Typically, what we're looking at is around $1,000 per person per night. That's like our starting.
Uh-oh, we lost Kelly. I'm not sure what happened. I am so sorry. Let me see where she went. Hold on 1 second. Somehow she must have gotten disconnected, guys. I'm so sorry. So she was telling you about the Antarctica, and the cost is about $1,000 per person per night. Um, does anyone else have any questions? I don't know how many of these I'll be able to answer, but I will do my very best.
I'm back.
Otherwise,
I'm sorry.
oh, she's back. Thank
I
God. I'm not sure what
somehow
happened.
X'd myself out. Um, let's see, what was
She's
the
back.
question?
Yay, she's back.
I don't know what
All
just
right.
happened.
Okay, Kelly, what about solo travelers?
Typically, our solo rates are 75% for ocean views and balconies and 100% for suites. What I recommend though is to go to your travel advisor and see. That's why I use a travel advisor because then they can call me and see if I can do something for them. So I always encourage you to ask. And if there's something we can do, we will. But that is our standard policy.
Fantastic. Okay, anybody have anything else that they have any questions for Kelly this evening? I'm looking at both chats and Q&A. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Are you, Kelly?
No, I think all the questions were answered.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone who took the time to join us. Like Kelly said, please reach out to your travel advisor. They'll be able to tell you more and answer even more questions. about Swan Hellenic. Oh, wait a minute. There's one extra little question. When is the best time to go when it's covered with snow?
So for Antarctica, it's actually earlier in the season because then the later you go in the season, the warmer it gets. And so when there's more snow, that's also when we can offer snowshoeing. And some of the other benefits to going earlier is less people have been there. So especially if you're into photography, you can kind of tend to get more pristine shots instead of when the snow gets all dirty and there's penguin poop after the chicks are born. These are the things you think of about Antarctica.
Oh, well, that's
But yeah.
great. Awesome. And how far are your dates going out? Do you have dates into 2028?
Yeah, we just recently launched our Antarctica dates for the end of 2027 and early 2028.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, again, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And like I said, the recording will be out on Thursday. Check your email, talk to your travel advisor, and get one of these amazing expeditions booked for yourself. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.